Hello. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking to a very special lady. This lady emigrated to New Zealand 10 years ago and left behind her children and some of her family. And we're going to be talking about how she copes with that, how they both cope with it, how when you move to the other side of the world and leave family behind, the things that you have to do to get through and stay communicating.
What you forget is you feel so guilty because, oh my God, I've left and I've come to New Zealand, I'm doing this, but they're doing their thing.
Yeah, of course.
You know, if I'm...
This lady holds a special place in my heart and I love her very much because she's my mum. Let's go and meet her. Hello, and welcome to the It's a Drama podcast. I'm Liz, and today I've got a special guest with me, my mum. She's here to talk to us about what it's like to be far, far away from some of your family. The reason I've invited you on, and thanks so much for coming on, because I know it was a nerve-wracking thing, was because people... they want to emigrate and it's always in the back of their mind that they're taking either their kids or themselves away from a member of family. You're never going to keep everyone happy. And you emigrated to New Zealand 12 years ago, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but just to give a backstory, and you left to join me and my sister and start your own life in New Zealand, but you left behind your son and your sister and your brother and your grandchildren. And we just want to talk about the reality of what that was like, how you cope with it. You know, is it as bad? Is it as good? Whatever. We just want to have a chat with you. So, hello, Mum. Welcome. So just introduce yourself to the world.
Okay. I am Liz's mum, obviously. She's told you. My name's Linda. And I live in Taranaki on the North Island, New Plymouth, Taranaki. Been here for 11 years.
Yeah.
11 years, yeah.
Yeah. Before us.
Yeah.
After us.
If I can help in any way with what it's like, I'm going to try and do it. So fire away.
Yeah. So, okay. So why New Zealand? I know it's a massive story, but just can you we came on holiday, didn't we? And
my youngest daughter emigrated to New Zealand. We came out to see her. Me and Liz came out to see her here. And we both fell in love with it, basically, wasn't it?
You were on your own. You left your husband behind.
Yeah.
You came with me.
It was just me, Liz and a daughter. And we came out and stayed with Mel. And yeah, we just fell in love with the place. You were thinking of going to Canada at the time. Yeah, you were going to emigrate to Canada. So I knew Liz was going to emigrate anyway. But I don't know, there was just something about the place that we loved, and went back with the intention of coming again on holiday. You know, I wanted to bring my husband, show him, not jump right in, but come in, bring him back, show him, what do you think? And you went right back and said you emigrated.
Yeah. I hope you don't mind me doing this, but it was just to give some context. Your husband is your second husband, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he is younger than you. And
yes.
Yeah, so you weren't like settled.
Oh, no.
Mum and dad.
No. He's 12 years younger than me, which is quite a lot.
Cougar, aren't you?
Keep your eye on her, Bri. But yeah, he's so he was still into. He's completely. Children have grown up. I'm ready. I want to see the world. I want to go off. I want to do lots of things. Kev was still at the age where it's very important. His career, his job. Jobs were important to him. Whereas to me, it was just, who needs a job? Come on, let's go. We'll live in a tent. But Kev was still at that stage. So to come back and say to him, guess what? We're going to sell our house. You're going to pack your job in, and we're going to go and see New Zealand because I like it. I heard a bird singing. Was a little bit freaky, wasn't it?
But he did it. He took to that, and he was
he did it. His job, luckily, his job finished when it should have done. The year later, he was laid off from work and his job finished, so we were free to go. Rented the house out and we went on a round the world trip to New Zealand.
So you came to New Zealand on holiday. Mm-hmm. You decided when you were here you were going to come and emigrate.
I loved it,
and you loved it and you wanted to move over here.
Yeah.
Your one daughter was already living here. Your other daughter, me, was about to say, yep, I'm not going to Canada, I'm coming over here. What about your son that's in England?
It was a funny setup because when you were going to Canada, you were emigrating. You put in for paperwork. You were With me, it was more, I love New Zealand. I'd love to go there. I want to go back and look at it again. There was never any, we are going to emigrate.
Right.
It was more, I'd like to see it. I'd like to go and live there for a couple of years. I'd like to see what it's like. It was more that sort of a thing. So there was never that, I'm going to leave you, and I'm going to leave you and your wife and your grandchildren, my grandchildren, and we're going to emigrate. It was more, I'm just going to see what it's like, Jay. I'll go for 12 months, see what it's like. If I like it, we'll stay. And it was very, very upbeat.
You kept it very light and very temporary,
light. Yeah.
And So it was nothing like, we're moving.
No, it makes it hard work.
What did you do with your house?
We rented it out for the first 12 months. We lived in Bath. We rented it out for the first 12 months. In fact, we rented it out for 12 months. Rented it out for the first 12 months, came back, relisted it, rented again for another 12. And then after the second year, we came back and sold it.
Right. Okay. So that initial period was it was all very light.
Touchy-feely. And, it was just nice.
Yeah. And see how you go.
Kev got the job in Auckland. We had to apply for work visas.
Who'd want to live in Auckland? Go and watch that video.
I quite liked Auckland.
Yeah, you did. You loved Auckland. Yeah, I could have interviewed you and Kev about that because you loved it, didn't you?
I liked it, yeah.
And that's another story because actually when you moved to, you didn't move to Taranaki straight away. We were living here, but you went and, because of Kev's job,
we had to live in Auckland for 12 months.
Was there any time when you were leaving the UK, and I know you were keeping it all light and everything like that you just thought, I might never come back? Or was it always in your mind that you would just think, yep, I'll be back? How did,
I don't know. That's a difficult one for me to answer because I never really looked that far ahead. It's just, we'll see what happens. It was like that. I never actually said, I am going to emigrate and I'm never coming back. And this is it. Even now, I'm a New Zealand citizen. And even now, I still think, I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow.
Yeah, you've always had that attitude.
It's that attitude that's why it's a good attitude to have, because then, you can just get on and, yeah.
How old were you when you emigrated? And how old was Kev?
Oh, God, come on, that's that bit for me.
Well, because I need to know.
God.
I know, but it needs to know.
Right, hang on. So I was 11 years ago, so I was 58.
Right. And he was?
58, so Kev was 48. 46,
right? Yeah. So it just gives you
same age as you are now.
No, he's younger than me, but it gives you. I like knowing how old people are, and what they had for the dinner. What did you have for your dinner on the plane?
I can remember.
What was it like?
I can remember.
So, how old were your grandchildren? Your grandchildren were young. The grandchildren that you left,
yes,
were
but the one in Gisborne wasn't born. I mean, I've got one now.
Yeah, but you were coming to them. I'm talking about the ones that you left in the UK.
That's what I'm saying. The ones that I left were the youngest ones.
Yes. Yeah.
Yours and Melon's were the older. So I was leaving the younger ones. So, oh, gosh. It would have been all under about, 5, yeah, it would have been about 5 twins, 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Young.
So they were
babies.
Young. Yeah.
Babies, yeah.
How did you say to your son, my brother, that you were going to keep in touch with the grandchildren? Because at that age, it's important that you do have regular contact with your grandparents.
At that time, we didn't have what we've got now. Like now, it's an absolute doddle to keep in touch. Then it wasn't. You had to make a phone call. It was a lot more difficult.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't like Messenger and WhatsApp.
No,
and
thinking about it's weird, isn't it? Because you tend to think, we've always had that.
No, we didn't have it. So it was phone calls, but it was lots of, I suppose, lots of letters and, postcards and texts and not even texts.
No, you didn't have texts, just phone calls and...
Yeah, it was quite difficult.
All right, so you've been over here for a year. You came and you stayed for a year, and then you made the choice to think, I'm not ever going back?
No, I'm not ever going back. I don't want to go back yet. I want to stay longer.
Right, okay.
And I want everybody else to come out and see what this is like. I've always had that attitude. It's not so much I want to go back there. I want them to come here.
Yeah.
I want them to see what it's like. So it was never, I say it's never ever been cut and dried. It's still not cut and dry to this day. I still say to him now when I'm on the phone, I don't know, I might come back yet. I'm not sure. If you keep it like that, it's a lot easier than saying, oh, I'm here, I'll never come back. Never say never.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So just kept it nice
and
light.
Just kept it light, yeah.
Okay, so you've been over here 11 years and like I say, after 2 years, you decided to make your move here.
Yeah.
But I know it was always you could go back, but you bought a house.
Oh, that was the big one. That was the big one, yeah.
Once you buy a house.
Well, that was when it finally hit home. We were coming to live in New Zealand because I went back and I sold that. Well, we went back and we sold the house and the container came and loaded up all my furniture and it drove around the end of the road. And the next time we see this, it's going to be in Auckland. And all of a sudden it did hit home.
Yeah.
That time it really did. And I think that was about the only time it did. And it was just like, well, it doesn't matter. We'll come back, we'll come back on holiday. And we had to think that, but that really did, when you have actually sold your house and that container takes all your stuff away and it's bringing it to New Zealand. That was
there any time, because I don't know this, but was there any time that when that was happening, any of your family, our family, said to you, please don't go, or, I'm going to really miss you, or it made you feel like you shouldn't go?
Yeah.
You don't have to say who it was, but did someone say it?
No, well, yeah, obviously, like, well, why are you going? Why do you want to go? You also, it was strange, yeah.
Because it's a hard time, isn't it?
It's a hard time because you couldn't answer it, without saying, oh, well, I'd rather be with, you can't do it. It was a very strange thing. Why don't you just go on holiday? People said that, well, if you like it that much, why don't you just go over on holiday? But I didn't want to. And also England, I don't know, when you think, as I say, I was 58, I'd spent 58 years in Britain. I was ready for a change.
Yeah.
It wasn't...
It's almost like now or never as well, isn't it? Like,
but if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. And there was that selfish part in me, which I've got to admit, it's not proud of, but I was selfish, where I think I've given 40 years of my life to kids. Yeah. Now I'm going to do what I want to do. As I say, second marriage, younger man, not... Kev's no, you can't say that, but but second marriage, new life,
a new life, yeah.
And it was just like, oh my God, no memories here, no ex-wives, no ex-husbands, just a new life, and it was just a nice place. It was just a new start. That's more than anything. It was a new start. It was a lovely place to start.
It's the most, I can feel it when just talking to you. I can remember that feeling of going to say goodbye to people, and like you say, you do always think, oh, we'll be back, we can come back, we'll come back every 6 months, and like when you get over here and that hits you like a ton of bricks, how expensive it is.
It is when you've got a family.
It is,
It's very easy for me to say, I can go back. I can. I went, I've gone back with you on my own.
That's what I was going to ask you.
I've gone back on my own.
Yeah. How many times?
But for you, it would have been difficult.
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's expensive. Yeah. But for you, how many times have you been back? And how many times have people been over here to see you?
Oh, yeah. 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 What, do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
I thought you were just telling me.
Hang on, I'll just get a telescope and look in your mind, find the answer.
Okay. So every single solitary year, we've gone back to England for 6 weeks, minimum 6-8 weeks, apart from the last 2 years because of COVID, which was not good. We couldn't do it. Some years I've gone back 2 or 3 times. I went back with Kev. I went back on my own. We went back. Liz came back maybe 1 year. I have never missed a year. Never missed a year.
How did you do that with Kev's job?
Because Kev was a contractor.
Right.
So he either works from home or he contracts.
Right.
So we just say, we're out of the country for the next 8 weeks, move all his jobs to the end of that 8 weeks. And it just worked out fine. Plus, as I say, there was only 2 of us. It's a lot easier. And you've got to remember, there's only 2 of us. We'd sold a house, we bought a house. I don't know. It was on a very good job.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that everybody can just pack, just go back and it's easy, just buy air tickets.
Yeah, that's your story.
Yeah, that's mine. But I mean, other people might not be able to do that.
They might not want to.
No, they might think, thank God we've left there and I'm never going back again.
You, come back and see you. I don't think so. So lots of things I want to ask you. So you went back. You went back a couple of times a year, like you say, because you could because of Kev's job. Did you stay with your son with my brother?
We always boring. We always did the same thing. We'd go and stay with my son. We stayed with the son and the grandchildren for a couple of weeks. Then we always went in June. So in June of my birthday, we used to go over to Italy and spend a couple of days in Rome. That was our treat. And then we'd come back and spend a couple of weeks with my sister, just visiting. We visited all family, but basically staying with my son and the grandchildren, yeah. But do you know what? It's a funny thing. You do this and you think, I'm going home. I'm going to see my son and my grandchildren and how wonderful. And it is absolutely fantastic. But, when you've been there a week or 2 weeks, they've got their own life. The kids want to go and stop over at their mates, and my son is taking the dogs a walk, or him and his wife want to shoot off to Rome like we just did. Everybody lives their own life, and you imagine that you're doing a bad thing by leaving, and they're all going to be sat there saying, mum's gone, we never see her, the kids never, blah, blah. It's not true. Unfortunately, it isn't though, is it? People live their own lives. That's why you've got to live yours. Just enjoy what you're doing because they're not sat at home don't get me wrong, they miss. I know they do. Everybody misses. But if I said, shall I come home for 6 weeks, or do you want me to bring you out here for 6 weeks? Yeah, we'll come out there.
It's a really good point, actually, because like you say,
you imagine that they're all sat there crying, and they're not.
I know. And whenever you go back and, like you say, you go back and see someone for the first few days, it's like, party.
Yeah, I know.
And then it's like, I'm just nipping out then to
I've
go
just
and get paper.
I've just got to go to Tesco's because I've run out of bread. And will you look after the kids?
But in a way, you kind of miss that.
Yeah,
this is what I was saying.
It's lovely to have it. Yeah.
I was saying this to Brian yesterday. Jamie, my brother, phoned me up last night, actually. And he's just moving house, and he was talking to me, and I could hear the excitement in his voice. I just wanted to be there.
I know.
I wanted to be there to raise a glass to them, and
I'm glad I'm not there, because he would have had me loading all that truck and packing all his stuff.
Yeah,
Kev would have been cutting all his firewood.
Yeah.
No, things like that you do miss.
You do, and it's just, but they're only tiny moments,
tiny things,
like you say.
Yeah.
This is your life.
Yeah, and they're living. What you forget is you feel so guilty because, oh my God, I've left and I've come to New Zealand, I'm doing this, but they're doing their thing.
Yeah, of course they
are.
You know,
if I was at home and my son suddenly said to me, Mum, I think I'm going to emigrate to Canada, I'd just say, okay, fine. I wouldn't think, well, what, you're going to leave me? You know, what? How can you possibly do that? Everybody's got, they're grown up and they've got their own lives. The children, yes, you do miss your grandkids growing up. I was saying earlier, I talked to my grandson today and his voice has changed. All of a sudden, he's not a baby. He's like a young man's voice. And because I haven't seen him for 2 years because of COVID. And so you think, oh God, I've missed that. But then I think, hang on a minute, well, he's 15, 16, soon he'll be 18. He can get on a plane, he can come out here and see us. You know, it's a good place to visit. It is a good place to visit for that age.
Oh, yeah. And I always think with New Zealand as well, if you're going to move anywhere, then, you know, everybody
who comes to visit wants to come back to live, always.
Yeah. So how would you say that you've kept mainly in touch with your grandchildren, your sister, your son?
Every single solitary day, and I mean that without exaggeration. Every single solitary day I phone. It's free. You know, it didn't used to be. I mean, it used to be if you phoned from New Zealand to England, you would be paying it off for the next 20 years. It's free. You can do Messenger, you can do WhatsApp, you can do all these different things. Free phone calls, stop on the phone all day if you want to. You can do video chats, the same. It's just so easy to keep in touch.
Yeah.
The biggest downside to being here and keeping in touch is the time difference.
When you're in the UK. Definitely.
And here,
but what I'm saying is if you're in America, it's not so bad.
Oh, no. In the UK, yeah.
It's flipping nightmare, isn't it?
Oh, but the number of times I think, I'll give my sister a ring, you know, and I think, just give her a ring. And then you think, oh, no, hang on a minute, it's 3:10 in the morning and she's in bed. Which you can get away with once, but don't keep doing that.
I've always really struggled with that. But because we've talked about this before, in the evening, if you've had your dinner and you've had a glass of wine or whatever, and your tongue might be a little bit loose.
Yeah. I'm going to give Jimmy a ring.
And they're getting ready for work and you phone them, it's like, oh no, that drunk's phoning me again.
You automatically look at your watch and think, what time is it there? Oh God, no.
I know. But saying that, my sister who lives in Gisborne, her mother-in-law and father-in-law, they FaceTimed I'm like that because that's the television screen, but they FaceTimed their grandchildren like every morning when they were getting ready for school. I tell this story a lot, but it really helped, didn't it? Like, you know,
of course it does. They can watch them getting ready for school. You can tell them things. Yeah, it is. Both sides have got to make an effort.
Yeah.
And it works. The days are gone where you're on the other side of the world and you never see anybody and you can't get in touch.
Can you imagine what it would have been like when people used to?
Yeah, because your uncle went to live in South Africa. And we were lucky if he would book a phone call on Christmas Day and the whole family gathered round the phone to answer this phone call. Letters took weeks to get there, you know, airmail letters. It's just so I don't know, you can almost think I've moved house. I haven't gone to the other side of the world. I've just moved.
Yeah. And that's so true as well, because you can be in the UK and live in Cornwall. And, you know, I know Brian's cousin emigrated. Sorry, Joe. She moved up to Edinburgh or somewhere in Scotland. And she only sees her family like twice a year or something. Yeah. I mean, maybe a little bit more. But what I'm saying is, you know, you can move to the other side of the country, can't you, Mum? Yeah. And you can you're busy with the jobs and your work and you don't see them.
I talk to the rest of the family, well, not New Zealand, but I talk to the rest of the family more since I've lived in New Zealand than ever I did when I was at home.
Yeah.
I could go months without talking to my sister.
Yeah.
And now, as I say, it's every single morning, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's the same, with Jay and the kids.
Yeah.
You make more of an effort, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you do. It's like even when you lived in Auckland, I was talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
You live across the road, you live 10 minutes away from me now. I probably see you once a fortnight.
Yeah, I know.
If we're lucky, don't we? We have to make a real effort.
Yeah.
But when you lived in Auckland,
well, it's
we were
somewhere
coming
to
up
go.
every weekend.
This is it. Yeah, it's a place to go.
Let's go to Mum's free weekend.
Yeah. There's restaurants open at 10 o'clock.
Exactly.
The wine bar's open till midnight.
No, but it's true. You do. You tend to see people more.
I know when they're
you make
away.
An effort.
I know.
And sometimes I'm really jealous of Jamie. My brother and your son, because he used to come. He's been out here a couple of times and lived with you for 6 weeks,
which is the equivalent of about 6 years if I'd lived at home. At home you'd be lucky. Christmas, either we went there or they'd come to us, but Christmas Day was okay, Christmas, and really maybe a couple of days in the summer.
I know.
And that's it. Like, we're going up to, we're coming down to Cornwall. We'll pop in and see you on the way down, and you might maybe stop the night or something. Nothing like you've got so much quality time.
Yeah.
He's been over twice, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And it's quality time.
Yeah, it is quality time. But let's not forget that the fact is we are at the moment, you're 24 hours away.
Yeah.
Whichever way you look at it.
Yeah.
You're 24
also
hours.
$2,000 plane ticket, whichever way you look at it.
We did talk about this, me and Brian, before though, because we drove from here to Queenstown, and all in all, it took us about 24 hours, didn't it, Brian? Or so, the equivalent of what we said, we could be in England now.
Yeah.
The amount of time we've sat in this car, driven down, been on the ferry, stayed in a hotel, got up the next morning, could have been in England. But anyway, it is a long way. It is a long way, but you can look at it both ways, can't you? Sometimes you think, oh, you're a long way away, and sometimes you think you're only 24 hours away.
Another thing that helps, I think, is that New Zealand is so much, I'm talking about England because I've never lived in America, so I don't know, but New Zealand is so much like England. You don't notice that you're somewhere. If I lived in Vietnam or India or Italy, and they spoke a different language and the signs were all written in different languages and I had to understand a menu, can you tell me what this is? Everything is exactly the same as England here, so you don't even feel as if you're away.
It's very similar, isn't it? Yeah, it's just better.
Oh, I know. No, I can't say that. I'm not allowed to say
No, you're not allowed to say that.
I'm not allowed to say it's better.
No, it's different. It's the same. You don't know what someone said on one of
It's the same but different.
Exactly.
It's exactly
someone
what it is.
said that to me. They were like, same but different. And you're like, that's exactly. Oh, it was Ryan. Was Ryan who I interviewed. Yeah, he said it. And I thought, God, that sums it up perfectly.
It is. It's...
All right, we're going to round up now. But before we go, at the moment, because of COVID, I suppose you're experiencing now what people who can't go home all the time are experiencing. Have you felt at any time over the last, what's it been, 18 months that you haven't been able?
Yeah.
Have you really felt it?
Yeah. That was when my son was diagnosed with a very nasty illness. And it was just after COVID had hit. I couldn't go back. That was the one time that you think there's nothing you could do, that you did feel completely powerless. You were on the other side of the world. You couldn't go back. My age, I was 68, wasn't I? I was too old. I hadn't been vaccinated. I was going back to Britain, which was in a bad state anyway. And sometimes it hits you. And that was about the one time in 10, 11 years that it hit me. Everything's fine now. It's perfectly okay. Everything's fine. But that hit you when you were on the other side of the world. It was no good saying, oh, it's all right, I'll phone him, I'll do that. I mean, we did. It was 24-hour phone calls, which got us through. But yeah, sometime God forbid, but if it does hit you, you do, obviously.
Yeah.
You've got to think, oh, God.
Yeah.
No, I want to go back. In fact, I never ever thought I want to go back. I just wanted to bring him here.
Yeah, you just wanted to be with him.
Yeah, that's it. But if it hadn't been, this is nothing to do with living in New Zealand, nothing to do with anything apart from COVID. It was COVID that stopped me doing it. It was nothing else. So, that apart, nothing would have stopped me and I'd have been home. But that was the only one time that I could not go back against my wishes. I wanted to go back and I couldn't. It just didn't work out at all. And that was due to COVID, not due to living in New Zealand or leaving my family or anything like that. Bad things happen. It would have been just as bad if I'd been in England, because I still wouldn't have been able to go to see him because he lives in Devon and I lived up in Lancashire. So I still wouldn't have been able to go to see him because of the COVID. So it just brought us along.
And also, that was a really difficult time. And I remember you staying up 24 hours, a number of days that you just kept on the phone, like, you know, on the phone.
It was the day-night thing.
Yeah.
He was going up to London to the hospital in the day, and it was the middle of our night here. So, we just
But like you say, you wouldn't have been allowed in the hospital anyway.
Oh, no.
You know, you could have been there for his wife and their children and everything.
At my age, I'm a risk to them. You know, they don't want me near him because I was a risk to him.
But I think that's a really, I mean, I don't want to say it's a good point, but I just want to say that you got through that.
Oh God,
you know, you both got through it together.
Yeah.
And
all three of us.
Yeah.
His wife, you know, it was me and Luke constantly on the phone, Jamie and Sir, you know, just constantly. The three of us got through it.
Yeah.
It was a bad time, but I don't know. We just.
So thank you for sharing that, because I know that it was like, you know.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. So for someone who's going to move over here and they're thinking, I just can't do it. I can't take my kids away from their grandparents. I can't leave my mum. I can't do it. It's just too hard. What would you say? What advice would you give?
You can do it. And don't say, I'm going to New Zealand. I'm going to the other side of the world. You're not. You're going. You're moving. You're moving. And yes, your family will miss you, and they'll say, and your grandparents will miss your grandchildren, but it'll be like we were saying earlier. You know, they'll be glad that you've done it. They'll be glad that you're setting out a better life for you and your family for a start. Every parent on earth wants to see, you know, their grandchildren or their children doing well. And you can see them. You pick up your phone and hit Messenger, and there they are in front of you. Just when you were trying to watch television in peace, they phone you. It's great. But you know, you're never far away. Those days are gone. You're not far away. You'll both enjoy your life. You really will. It's just getting used to it, isn't it?
It is,
No, it's good.
Okay, thank you so much for chatting.
You're very
It's just
welcome.
flown by, hasn't it? It's like literally just a half an hour just gone like that.
Think of all the things that you can't think of to say, and then you think of a million and one things.
I know.
I didn't say this.
I know. Well, we maybe can do part 2 and just
Part
go.
2.
Yeah, just catch up on that. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining
Very
me.
welcome.
And love you.
Love you too. Oh my God. Bye.
Okay, see you soon. Bye.
Hello.
Daddy, I love him.
Mother thanks you.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello.